It's Affy, and today I am here to do my April wrap up. I know it's kind of late, but I'm here, we're doing it, we're gonna get it done. I read 9 books in April, which is a huge, I mean, it's not like drastic, but it's definitely way more than I've been reading the last several months. I've been getting about 5 to 6 books in per month. So 9 is a big jump from my usual 5 books. So I'm proud of myself that I read more than my normal share of books. But I'm also worried that this video is going to be ridiculously long. So hopefully I can keep it short, but we'll just have to wait and see. Because April was New Author April, I read pretty much almost exclusively new to me authors. I did read 2 books from authors that I know, but they were part of read-alongs. So majority of these books are by authors that I have not read before. So I'll talk about whether I liked the authors or not, and yeah, we'll talk about it. So the first book I read was by Jennifer McQuiston. This is What Happens in Scotland. This is a new to me author. And this book is about James and Georgette. James and Georgette wake up one morning in the same bed in a hotel, and neither of them knows what happened. They don't know the other person, and basically everything goes to shit. Georgette freaks out. She takes a chamber pot and knocks him over the head and then runs away. And when he wakes up, he remembers that there was a woman that knocked him over the head with a chamber pot, and that he got married last night, but he doesn't remember who to, and he's freaking out just as much as she's freaking out. He's missing money, and so he's basically thinking to himself, like, this woman must have robbed me. They both go on an adventure trying to figure out what happened the night before. The two of them kind of go on these separate missions trying to find each other, which was interesting. But it was also annoying because it took half the book before they finally met each other. And at that point I was like, are they ever going to meet? Like, this is taking so long. Like, it was literally right at the halfway point before they finally met each other. And while that's not like a huge problem, it just kind of irritated me because I was like on pins and needles to see like what was going to happen when they finally bumped into each other. So that like irritated me a little bit. Georgette is an interesting character. She's a widow, and she's got a cousin who's trying to marry her because he needs the money. And so she's in some ways kind of happy that she married this other guy because her cousin's like really trying to get married to her. But at the same time, she's like, it's not that great because this person is someone I don't know. So I'm in a shitty situation either way. I liked this one. This was a lot of fun. These two had really good chemistry. My second issue that I had with the story specifically is the fact that the entire book takes place in one day, and they're already telling each other they love each other by the end of one day. No. No. So I tried to ignore that. But yeah, it takes a place over 24 hours, and they're already saying I love you at the end of the 24 hours. So that was kind of ridiculous to me. But in every other way, I did really enjoy this one and had a lot of fun with it. The next book I read in April is Lisa Kleypas. This is Married by Morning, and this was part of the Hathaway's read-along. And this book is actually my favorite in the Hathaway series, and I love it. This is Leo Hathaway and Catherine's story, and these two are definitely a good representation of enemies to lovers. You kind of have to read the first 3 books to really get like a full story of what their relationship is like before you get to this book. But once you do, it's just glorious. He just seems to think that she's, a little button up mouse of a woman, and he's always trying to irritate her just to get a rise out of her, because he's like, nobody can be this like prissy, I have to get under her skin somehow. And so he's always kind of doing whatever he can to irritate her. And then in this book, finally, the floodgates open, and they start to fall, and they both fall pretty hard, and it's really good. I gave this book 6 stars the first time I read it. This time, I wasn't sure if I wanted to give it 6 stars or 5 stars, and I'm still kind of iffy on that. It was a 6 star the first time, and it's almost a 6 star the second time. It's a 5.5. Like, I don't know. It's still good. I still really, really love it. It's just, yeah, it's a great book. I love this series so much. The next book I read was by Karen Hawkins. This is How to Capture a Countess. And this one was about Alton, or Lord Sin, and Rose. And Sin and Rose meet at a ball one day. He's bored out of his mind, and this young woman walks up to him, and she captures his interest, and he's like, oh, okay, finally, like, an interesting girl to talk to. Like, I'm so sick and tired of all these bores around here. And so they have this great conversation, and he's starting to get really into her, and then he tries to kiss her, and she shoves him, and he falls into a fountain, and everybody sees, and it's this big to-do. And so he's embarrassed, and he's been embarrassed for quite a while. 6 years pass by. He's like, I want to get back at this woman that destroyed my reputation. And so he's kind of looking for her, and his great aunt happens to know Rose. It turns out she's her godmother or grandmother or something like that. And so she decides she's going to meddle because he's refusing to get married. She's like, maybe I could get him to marry the girl that he is upset with. Maybe because he has such like intense emotions against her, maybe there could be something there. And so his great aunt invites her, him, and then a whole bunch of old farts to come to this 3-weekend country stay. And he and Rose are the only 2 young people at this party. And so, yeah, it's a country party. And so the kinds of things that people get into at country parties are very entertaining. When he sees her, he basically tells her, I'm going to do whatever it takes to seduce you and get you in trouble. I want to get back at you for what you did to me, and that's the way I'm going to do it. I'm going to seduce you. And she's thinking to herself, well, I'm kind of into you anyway, so seduce me to your heart's content. Like, she's perfectly fine with this. He's upset, and he starts trying to find ways to seduce her, but at the same time, like, try to be mean to her. I don't know. This was a weird one. I didn't end up really liking this one very much. The writing style was weird. The story in and of itself, it wasn't bad, but it felt like the pacing just felt a little weird. I remember when I got to like the sex scene, I was like, this is worse than a Julia Quinn sex scene. Like, I think it was like 2 sentences or something. I was like, I waited for all of that. Like, that was it. So that irritated me as well, and I just didn't really have fun with this one, so I ended up giving this one 3 stars. yeah, it was what it was. The fourth book that I read was by Gail Callan. This is No Ordinary Groom, and this was also a new to me author. And in this book, we have William and Jane. And Jane is basically betrothed to William. Her dad just kind of decides he's going to make her marry William. And William is just kind of this fop. Like he's just kind of there. And she finds him to be very annoying. She finds him to be kind of useless, which he definitely seems like a very useless person. And she just doesn't really want anything to do with him and is like, I don't understand why my dad picked this guy to marry me. She wants to go see her dad. Her dad has been in the military for several years and she hasn't seen him in a long time. So she's like, I want to go visit him in the country. And so William basically offers to take her. On their way there, she very, 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 very slowly starts to starts to open up to him again, very slowly. She finds him irritating, so she's definitely not nice to him through the majority of the book. But it's just kind of their adventures as they make their way to see her father. There really wasn't much of a storyline with this one. At least it didn't really feel like it to me. William, as it turns out, is a spy, and you would think that would make it a little bit more interesting, but it doesn't. So I didn't really love this one. I had written down that Will was fun, upbeat, and good-natured, while Jane was simply annoyed. Her personality was straight just annoyance. Like, that was her personality. She was just annoyed by everything he did, and outside of that, you don't really get like a idea of like who she is. So her personality was annoyance. He's got a dog named Killer. Killer was cute. He was fun. He couldn't make the book more entertaining, but he was a cool character to have in the story. So with this one, there isn't much to say with this one. Like I said, there isn't much of a story. Like I said, he's a spy, he's a double agent or whatever. And they go on a road trip, and it's the most boring road trip I've ever read. And they do go to a house party for like 3 days. But again, they're only there for like 3 days and not much happens. Like, just not much happens at all in this book. So I gave it 3 stars. So the next book I read is by Anne Gracie. This is The Perfect Rake. And this was my first Anne Gracie. This is part of the Meridew Sisters series. This was the first book in the series. And this is about Gideon and Prudence. And Prudence lives with her, I believe, 4 sisters. And they live with their grandfather, who is stark raving mad. This man hates them with a passion and beats them, is emotionally abusive. He's just a horrible fucking human being. And so when he gets hurt one day, he's trying to beat one of the girls and ends up tripping and like falling down the stairs, which, thank God. Wish he would have snapped his neck, but he basically is laid up for like 2 weeks. And so she takes that opportunity to get her and her sisters the fuck out of there. She's like, we can't stay here. This is our opportunity. Like, we have to go somewhere else. So she takes her sisters to their Uncle Oswald in London. And Uncle Oswald is Very entertaining. He's Great Uncle Oswald he's a funny man. I liked Great Uncle Oswald. But he is basically like, I can't believe you guys haven't been given a season. Like, I have to help you guys find husbands. But the thing is, he won't let her younger sisters get married or start being courted until Prudence herself gets married, since she's the oldest. She basically tells her uncle that she is, in fact, engaged, but to a duke. And this duke happens to live all the way out in Scotland somewhere and is like a recluse. And she's thinking, like, nobody's gonna bother thinking that, I'm actually with this, like, he lives all the way out in the boonies and nobody's really going to pay attention to this situation. I just need to, like, get my uncle to let my sisters go date. So when she finds out that said Duke actually is in London, she's like, oh shit, this is going to go very, very left. So she shows up at the Duke's house to basically let him know, I'm sorry, but I did this thing and my uncle's gonna show up here expecting that we are engaged and we're not. So I'm really, really sorry. I just wanted to let you know. And the guy that she talks to is just kind of like, yeah, all right. Well, you got to do what you got to do. And so she thinks that he's the Duke, but it turns out he's not the Duke. He is the Duke's cousin, Gideon. And it's a pretty funny scene when the actual Duke walks into the room and her uncle is there and everybody's just, it's confusion. It's complete and utter confusion. And it was a really good scene. So when they realize that, Gideon is not the Duke and things kind of go left, her great uncle is basically like, I don't know what the hell is going on here, but y'all better like fix this shit, like figure it out. And so Gideon decides he's gonna go to her uncle and talk to her uncle and accidentally kind of makes it seem like they're engaged. And so it's just everybody's just accidentally engaging themselves to other people. It's a giant mess and I loved it. So this one was highly entertaining. I really loved the characters. Prudence had this whole thing about this guy that she was secretly engaged to, and she was like, I have to save myself for this guy, and everybody's just kind of like, dude, you haven't seen him in 4 years. Pretty sure this guy is not coming back for you. And she's just like, but I made a promise and I have to keep my promise. But she's stuck on stupid with this secret engagement, and that part just, that irritated the hell out of me. Gideon just thought that everything about Prudence was amazing. She's described as being very plain, and he's constantly like confused as to why people call her plain. He's like, she's so pretty. Like, what are you guys talking about? She's so freaking gorgeous. And people will look at him like, are you sure you have eyes? And he's like, no, do you have eyes? How can you not see that she's gorgeous? And this happens quite a few times in the story. And it was just like, okay, I like that. I like when our hero thinks that our heroine is the most stunning woman in the room, even though she's basic as fuck. It was really cute. I liked it. I really enjoyed this one. I'm definitely going to continue on with this series. I gave this book 4 stars. Like I said, really enjoyed it. And the characters are just amazing. And her writing is fun. I like her writing too. So yeah, 4 stars. So the next book is by Carolyn Linden. Love and Other Scandals. And in this one we have Tristan and Joan. And Joan is the little sister of Tristan's best friend. So she shows up at her brother's house one day and her brother's being ridiculous. She's trying to get him to do something because, you know, her parents will tell her brother something and he'll just ignore them, and then they'll send her because she's really irritating, and he'll finally give in. So she goes to her brother's, and Tristan is there, and he's basically like, oh yeah, you're the little sister. Joan's mom gets sick, and her mom and dad leave town, and then something goes on with like one of their businesses, so her brother has to leave town. So basically her brother tells Tristan, like, nobody's gonna be here, it's just gonna be my aunt with my sister, and we don't really trust our aunt. She's a little flamboyant, and we don't trust her, so please keep an eye out on her while we're all gone. And Tristan is like, really? He's got this whole thing where he doesn't like the way she dresses. And so, like, he tells her one of her dresses looks like an umbrella or something. And she gets really, really mad about it. And I was like, I would too if a man told me my dress looked like an umbrella. But she takes it to heart, and she starts like changing the way she dresses and stuff. And he's like, oh, okay, she looks pretty good now. This was a weird one. I don't even like, it was a weird one. Basically, he's just courting her the entire book because her brother had told him to keep an eye on her. So he's like, okay, I'll go over and check and make sure she's okay. So he takes her on walks, he takes her essentially out on dates, and then they fall in love. And yeah, that's pretty much it. It started off kind of interesting, and then it was just kind of like, okay, they're hanging out, and they're hanging out again, and now they're hanging out again. So this one was another kind of bland one for me. There's like a tiny little side plot romance with her aunt and this guy that's like an explorer, and I remember being in some ways more interested in their relationship than in Tristan and Joan's relationship. I was just kind of like, ooh, but what's gonna happen with the aunt and the explorer? Are they gonna be together? This one left a little bit to be desired. I ended up giving it 3.5 stars. It didn't completely bore me, and there were a few good scenes, but it, as like a whole, didn't really, there just wasn't enough. The next book I read is by Amanda Quick, who I have read from before. This is Rendezvous. And in this book we have Augusta and Harry, and this one was a fucking doozy. Like, I can't. How do I even tell the story with this one? So Augusta is basically betrothed off to Harry, and Harry's like got this thing for her, so he basically asked her uncle, like, I want to get married to her, like, can you just let me marry your niece? And her uncle's like, oh, I didn't even think I'd be able to get rid of her, so yeah, you can totally have her. And she thinks that he accidentally meant to ask for her cousin. And so she basically goes to him and is like, I think you made a mistake. I don't think you actually meant to marry me. Like, what's up with that? So he's like, nope, I actually do want you. You're the one I want to marry. And it just kind of goes from there. This one felt like a father-daughter relationship. Like, he had a lot of there were a lot of do not speak to me that way and what did I tell you kind of statements coming from him, and her basically being like, you can't tell me what to do. And I I found this book to be very trying and irritating. I did not like Harry. I'm pretty sure this was an age gap. I think this was an age gap. There's this whole there's this whole thing about how her side of the family, the Northumberland Ballingers, are like the wild side of the family. And so people constantly make comments about how, well, you can't expect her to be X, Y, and Z. She's part of the Northumberland Ballingers. And they would say it all the time. And it was just like, we get it. She's from a wild fucking family. Like, her side of the family is wild. We get it. Like, move on. And that line irritated me. I was like, please stop. Northumberland what? Like, I don't care. Shut up. It was just like, how can you fall for a man that basically talks to you like a child? Like, I don't get it. So this one was, it was a no. It was a no. I gave it 3 stars. I probably should have given it 2, to be honest. Like, I didn't enjoy this one, and I did almost DNF it. I should have given it 2 stars. I gave it 3. I should have given it 2, to be honest. Like, I really did not have fun with this one, and I read it because it was part of a read-along, but yeah. So the next book I read is also an author that I have read before. This is If the Duke Demands. This was also part of a read-along. And in this one, we have Miranda and Sebastian. And Miranda she's just a normal country girl. She grew up next door to Sebastian's family, and so she grew up with him and his brothers. Well, mostly his brothers. He's kind of the oldest of the bunch. She's got this huge crush on Robert, who is the middle brother, and so she decides during a masquerade ball one day that she's going to slip into Robert's room, and she is going to basically, try to get his attention, wear a mask and get his attention, and maybe like make out with him, and finally get him to see her as a real woman, because he's always seen her as like a little girl. And so she's like, this is my chance. And so she slips into his room, and he comes in, they start making out, and she's like, oh, Robert. And then he stops, and she's like, did I say something wrong? And it turns out that it's actually his older brother, Sebastian. And so Sebastian is like, you thought you were coming into my brother's room? Like, what were you trying to do here? Like, what was the plan? And so she basically tells him, like, I've always been in love with Robert. I thought this was going to be my chance. Sebastian's mom decides that she is going to give Miranda a season. And because they're so close to the family and Miranda has always been so kind to them, she basically is like, I want to do it for her because she's such a sweet girl. And so she goes with Sebastian's family to London for the season. And she and Sebastian basically make a deal that she's going to help him find a wife as she gets to know the women in the town. And he is going to help her get Robert's attention so that she can hopefully be with Robert. Like, that's his plan, is to help give her a chance to be with Robert. But of course, that's not what happens. Of course, the two of them end up falling in love. And this one was a lot of fun. There were quite a few very sensual, very sexy scenes between the two of them. I wrote in my notes that Sebastian was a clod-headed, addle-pated fool, because he basically refused to see Miranda as an option for a wife. He was like, oh, well, my dad would have wanted me to marry somebody who's the very epitome and excellence of, high society. And so he keeps telling Miranda and telling himself, like, I can't marry her because I have to marry, like, just the echelon of women when it comes to high society, when it comes to the ton. And he basically breaks her heart because of it. And it's just like, you idiot. Like, come on, man. So it took a while for him to pull his head out of his ass, but he finally does. It was really sweet that they didn't realize that they had so much in common with each other. It's a bit of an age gap. I think he's like 10 years older than her. Like I said, they didn't necessarily grow up together, but she knew him growing up because he was the sibling of the people she was hanging out with. So yeah, a bit of an age gap, and I just think it's interesting. She's into all these things that he's into, but she's always had a thing for Robert instead. I really did enjoy this one. I ended up giving it 5 stars. It was the only 5-star read for the entire month. So sad. Just so sad. Last book that I read in April is by Tracy Ann Warren. This is Tempted by His Kiss. And this is the one with the really beautiful step back. And this one is about Margaret or Meg and Cade. And this was another doozy. So Meg is basically on her way to her aunt in Scotland. Her father has passed away, and that was her last living parent. And so she basically has no one else, and she's like, all right, I'm gonna have to go to my aunt. She's the only family or relative I have left. And so she's on her way to her aunt's when there's a snowstorm. And so she goes to the first house that she comes across, and it is Cade's house. Cade, who has recently come back from war, he's got like a busted leg. He's got like a messed up leg and a wounded spirit. He drinks all the time, and he almost throws her out, but finally agrees to let her stay. He's a horrible, horrible host. If you can imagine. He basically ignores her the entire time she's there, and she has to like beg him for attention. And when he finally does start paying her attention, he realizes he actually kind of likes her and she's a cool person. The day that she's supposed to leave, I think it's a squire comes to his house and sees her there by herself with him, and basically he lies and tells the guy that he is engaged to her, because he's like, if I don't say something, this guy is gonna tell the entire world. Like, he's such a gossip. So he lies and says that they're engaged, and when she freaks out, he's like, I have a great idea. How about you come and stay with my family in London? We'll give you a season. He basically offers the idea of taking her to London to stay with his family, where he can help her find an actual husband. Because he's like, do you really want to stay in the countryside with your aunt with no prospects for like marriage or anything? So she takes him up on that offer, and then the rest of the book is him trying to ignore her. It took forever for them to finally get together, because he just kept pushing her away. He was a moody little bitch. He was just irritated, and then like really excited, and then wanted to spend time with her, and then didn't want to spend time with her, and it was just like, oh my friggin' god. So this one, again, this just wasn't it. I did enjoy the writing. I did not enjoy the story. The hero was just, he was just obnoxious, and I just couldn't. Honestly, the beginning of the book where they met was the most interesting part of it. Once they go to London, it just kind of went downhill from there. Like I said, he spent a good portion of it like trying to avoid her, because he's so into her physically that he can't stay away from her. He wants her too much, and he has to stay away from her to prevent himself from doing something dishonorable. And it's just, oh my gosh. Yeah, this was another one that irritated me. I gave it 3.5 stars, mostly just because I did enjoy the first half of it. But it just kind of, as it went on, it wasn't as good. So yeah, this was the last book I read in April, and it was an unfortunate month. April was an unfortunate month. So April was a shitty month, but you know, it happens. I tried new authors. I'm at least happy about that. Anne Gracie was pretty good, and the Jennifer McQuiston, What Happens in Scotland, that was a fun book. But yeah, as a whole, it just wasn't a great reading month, which not every month is going to be, I guess. But I would have liked to have had at least more like 4-star reads. It felt like it was just a lot of 3 stars, and I don't do well with 3 stars. All right, you guys, thank you so much for watching. If you have made it to the end of this video, go ahead and leave me a plant emoji and leave me some comments in the comment section. Have you read any of these authors? Have you read good books by any of these authors? Maybe better books than the ones that I read from these authors. If so, did you like them? Just let me know. Let me know what you're reading. So thank you again for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.